You were the first.
I was
Now
the
you're
first.
back.
I was the first.
Yeah.
I'm back.
It's fucking...
I've got nothing to say. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'll
I
catch
just
you later.
wanted to check out the new spot. Yeah, because, it's funny. I was talking about the first one, I think, on the last podcast about how, I was. No, the reason I think it was the last one because I just edited it. It's what's coming out today. But with Sam Peterson. Do you know Sam Peterson?
No, I don't.
Was a stand-up comic and now a writer, sketch artist, the whole show. He's just done a mockumentary about, remember that? Did you hear about that Fire Island thing?
Oh, yes. And I was speaking to someone else which I can't remember who at the moment, that was just been involved in this comedy.
He wrote and directed it. Sam Peterson, yeah. I think
it's funny how that happens universally. I just mentioned the other day and then now twice. Right, okay, so you just...
So, yeah, sorry, Sam, I don't remember the name of... I think it's called Cobert the Town.
Yeah, right.
But I could be wrong about that. But anyways, he's taken that premise and applied it to like a small town, like Frankston type vibe that's going to get a highway come through it. And they're like, okay, well, fuck, we have to stop this. So the mayor goes, let's have a concert. So they do like a spitball pretend poster with like Gaga and Elton John and fucking, Led Zeppelin on it or something like that. But someone sends it out and they sell all the tickets. But they've got no one to fucking, they've got a concert, they've got nothing. And they can't get the money doesn't clear or something.
That's
in order
funny.
in time. But all of the actors basically improv'd all of the dialogue.
Wow.
So they were all his comedy buddies, and he just gave them, the shell of each scene, and took him 8 months, I think. Working weekends and what have you.
And is that okay? We're just, punching out the storyline there. We're not ruining anything.
It's all the setup. It's all on the podcast. Yeah.
Otherwise,
I'm sure. Well, we don't know if he succeeds or not.
They die at the end.
Yeah. But anyways, how did we start that conversation?
It's a morning one at the moment.
Fucking hell, I don't know. Anyways, we were just talking about how you're back and got nothing to say.
Got back and I got nothing to say. But you said, then you hijacked me and went off.
Why did I take you down that thread?
Come on, mate. You've got 10 seconds to remember it.
God.
But it is amazing. That's some of the stuff that's coming out conceptually. Did you watch Fire Island?
Yeah, I just watched it in anticipation of him coming over. Yeah,
that was incredible. Like I was just in amazement watching that, just how that was going down, and just the incredible power of social media. And I listen to your podcast, so I hear you bagging out social media all the time.
Yeah, totally, totally. But I think you and I. Oh. Now, okay, so that's why I started the conversation, because I was talking about how far this has come from our first podcast.
That's right.
And I was telling him about it, how the camera died 29 minutes and 45 seconds in or whatever. So my first video, you get in, and then there's just a picture that I took many years ago saying, sorry about this, guys, tech issues.
Two ducks on a pond, and then
exactly,
it's technical issues come back.
Yeah, no, the Fire Island thing was fucking bananas. But yeah, I do like to give the old social media a spray. I think I was telling you at the barbie on the weekend about just I was thinking about it this morning actually, about there being this culture where even if someone is hard done by, like in the industry, it seems that they won't speak out, and so there was the whole Me Too movement is a byproduct of people finally speaking out about everything that was hushed. And so we live in this interesting like society or realm or culture at the moment where there's certain things that you just cannot do anymore, that it will not be tolerated, and you will be totally the poster child of or whatever, you know what I mean? You'll be exposed instantly. Yet there is still an incredible amount of stuff that is not, and is frowned upon if you do. Like, for example, no one wants to expose people who have fucked up the making of short films, like in our in our realm. Oh, yeah, I
Right.
worked with this guy. I won't say his name, but he really did derail post-production or what have you. Or there was this sound guy that totally fucked the sound. Do you know what I mean? Like there seems, and
Yep.
everyone's protecting or agents that are sabotaging actors' careers by just having 30 of them on their books. And
I think it's such a small industry, though. And being seen as being negative in the industry, it's just a tough one because I guess there's going to be two sides to. I always like to look and see what's on the other person's, what their take on it was. So it is a hard one. It's a small one, and
it's a hard one. I think you need to accumulate a little bit of data before you start slamming people. Obviously, it shouldn't be your MO to be running around. This guy did this, and this guy did that. But when something happens, and that's bad, and then someone else you speak to, that same thing happened to them with that same person. It's like when I used to work in fashion, there was people exposing inappropriate photographers.
Right.
100% you should do that.
Yep.
I won't say his name, but say his name.
Yeah.
There's lots of like 16, 17-year-old girls out there that
John Smith.
Yeah, exactly. That are going to go and do a photo shoot with this guy, and it's not going to be great.
I just, I just prefer to come around with a baseball bat off air.
Pay him a little visit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what's happening, man? Just got back from LA.
Just got back from LA, and it was a great trip. So a little bit of background with that. In the last, it's probably coming up to about 2 years ago.
Oh, was it that long? Yeah.
That I started acting. No.
Wow, now I'm really jealous.
That I started getting into a little bit of producing and sort of working behind the scenes, and it came about via. The short version of the long story is that I was here in Melbourne catching up with an old mate, Travis McMahon, who played my co-star on Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, Bert. And he was in town because he lives over in America now. And he said, I want to catch up. And we organised the night. And he said, oh, shit, I forgot I'm going to see a film tonight. I said, oh, that's all right. We'll catch another night. Then he rang me back and said, oh, I've got a spare ticket if you want to come along. So I said, all right, great. I'll come along.
This is here in LA?
This is here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And it was a film called Sugar Mountain, and it was an Australian director, Richard Gray, and it was just they were doing a premiere over here, and he wasn't involved in it, but just somehow knew someone or that was involved in it. Somehow I still don't know who that connection is. And anyway, so I went along to this film, and Jason Momoa was in it, and
really,
had some Kerry Elways,
an Australian film.
It's an American film, Australian director,
right.
Anyway, this guy gets up at the end of it, and this big tall guy, charismatic, and he's and he was in the film as well, and this Aussie guy, and he's chatting away and talking about how they produced it and all the stuff they went through, and it was shot in Alaska, and I was like, wow. Oh my God, and I was listening to this guy talk, going, God, he's over there making films in Alaska with Jason Momoa, and holy crap,
Yeah.
And anyway, they were going to have some drinks afterwards, which quite often, does happen, after these sort of little soirees. And so we went along.
That's where the magic happens is in those chats and those catch-ups over drinks.
Certainly is for me.
Yeah.
And anyway, I ended up chatting to this guy, and Nick Farnell is his name. And we were chatting away for probably half an hour, and then he's just gone, gee, he looked familiar. He said, did you do a Keno commercial about 15 years ago over in Adelaide? And I went, yeah.
What's Keno?
Keno's it's like a gambling
What are you
thing.
doing in Adelaide? Did you book
it was
it
just
here?
a gig. It was just a gig I booked here and did in Adelaide. And I said, yeah, I did. And he goes, that was with me. I was like, holy crap,
what?
And then it was this bizarre ad that again, speaking about things you can't do now. This ad was sitting in, it's about gambling, and these two guys at a pub, and he goes, and then he says to me, see that guy over there? And I go, yeah. And he goes, he's one. I'm like, you kidding?
Oh.
He goes, there's that guy over there, he's one too. I go, no. And then he says to me, and I go, what about that one? And he goes, I think so. And he goes, what about you? I go, yeah, I've thought about it. It's this whole, he's gay. And then they're talking about gambling, and you could not
That's pretty good, actually.
but you could not make that.
You don't reckon?
Oh no! I just in this day and age, there's no marketing campaign that's the company that's going to sell that to a client to do that.
So,
but
there wasn't in a derogatory way.
No, but it was just. It just
yeah.
wouldn't happen. It would be too. It's so funny that some of the stuff that floats and doesn't today. And but anyway, so we did this, and I've been trying to find that bloody commercial. Like just looking back through because I want to
be a trip.
Oh, it'd be great.
Yeah.
He had a full head of red hair then, and now he's he's grey and he's
Oh wow.
he'd be like Anyway, so we ended up reconnecting, and just not long after that, I got invited to, or just before that, had been invited to go across to America to Las Vegas for a Miss Fisher's murder mystery convention.
Which is,
I think
convention. How I first, funnily enough, I don't know if I've ever told you this, first came across you after we'd connected on Facebook, and you were talking about being at that event and like signing autographs and great day and all this kind of stuff. I was like, what a prick.
And look, and you're pretty right. That's right, pretty much on the money.
As if you wouldn't. If I was over there doing that, I'd be like, this is the fucking best.
Man, it was crazy. It was that's another thing. That was a crazy experience. And big shout out to all the Miss Fisher fans and the Adventuresses Club. They are the best.
That's so great.
Legion of fans of any show that's ever been. I really, really mean that. They are such a great crew. But so to backtrack, so I had this thing going over there, and I'd never thought about the American market. Always thought it was sort of out of my reach or whatever. And anyway, he said, "Look, I got a manager over there, a guy called Chris Sherman who runs a company called Rooster Films in LA." And he said, well, "I'll hook you up with a meeting over there if you go." And so anyway, so I went over there and went to the convention, which was amazing in Las Vegas. And then went down to LA afterwards and met with this manager and had a couple of other meetings and just really gelled with this particular manager. And he said, "Have you got a visa?" And I said, "No." And he said, "No, that's all right." He said, "But, why don't you try working on that?" And so he signed me up and then literally started this, I ended up getting my visa, so I was able to work over there. And literally the day my visa, because I was leaving on the 2nd of Jan, like it was about a year later to go and work on a film. And it was literally the day I had to pay an extra $500 to get my passport back from when you finally get expedited to get it back. And that was a film called Robert the Bruce, which Nick got me involved with producing that shooting all the behind the scenes for it. I helped them do all their pitching materials and did their web and social and a whole bunch of other stuff for them, and was over on the ground there for a couple of months in the snow. And
where were you, Montana?
In Montana, in Livingston, Montana, and shooting this medieval,
which
film.
Is on Netflix.
I think it's on Netflix now.
Yeah, I saw it there the other day.
Yeah, and that's it's got everyone from Jared Harris. It's got the original Angus McFadden from the original Braveheart, who played Robert the Bruce.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name now, but it's Podrick off Game of Thrones.
And the fella, is that the same fella from Black Sails?
Oh yes, no, that's I'm always bloody terrible with my names.
He was also in Shameless.
Shameless as well. God, it's. Funny enough, when we went and saw it, because I had the long hair back here, and it's similar-ish sort of look with the long hair and big nose. But anyway, and my wife or someone overheard someone say, "Oh my God, that's the guy for that film. God, he looks so much bigger and stronger on TV." On the screen. I was like, son of a bitch.
You motherfucker.
Just a little munted miniature version. But look, that had an amazing cast. Kevin McNally from Pirates of the Caribbean, just a crazy good cast. And so I was involved in this, behind the scenes shooting this, and then ended up getting a little cameo role in that as well. And that sort of got me involved in sort of doing the production stuff over there. And since that time, I've got, some dear friends over there that I've known for quite a while, and that we were sort of working together, directors and producers. And I keyed up Nick with another longtime friend over there who's really hit his straps recently. He's just done some massive stuff. He just finished show running an Amazon's $20 million Amazon series for the All or Nothing series that they're doing, and then now he's just got a job working with Peter Berg's company, Film 45. And he's doing another one of those, and he shot. He's one of the head leading shooters and sort of on-set producers for a Kobe Bryant documentary that's going to come out. And this was all shot and done, obviously before this had happened. It was just literally, it's just about to come out, and I think they've held it off because they want to be a bit respectful there. But that when this doco comes out, it's going to be amazing. So anyway, so I hooked them up, Nick and this other director friend, and then we literally, through all the different connections, there's 7 of us now that have sort of come together. We've got writers, producers, directors, and we've started this collective called Set Apart. Set Apart Pictures. Setapart.pictures is their website. We've got a really good bunch of the collective work we've done to date, as our own individuals and working on projects is pretty impressive. And then we basically got a bunch of our own projects which we've concepted, scripted, and then we've sort of working almost like an incubator for some other projects that have come in. We've got about sort of 10 or 15 projects on our slate, and we've just, this last meeting, getting back to what you were just asking.
When you were out there last,
was basically going out and having a bunch of meetings with different agencies and different networks and
pitching them on some of these.
Pitching them, which is a really interesting experience being in the room.
Who's doing the pitching?
All of there was 4 of us on the ground there. So 4 of us went in the room, and
what was that like? Was it? I mean, were they inviting, or was it pretty cutthroat?
Because of the contacts that the groups got, they were all, most of them were pretty warm.
Okay, great.
Contacts. So you're not, which is great. You're not sort of, some of these companies getting in, you're not knocking on the front door and asking to speak to the assistant to the receptionist,
unannounced,
and you're just having no respect. So we were in there meeting, with vice presidents of companies and really higher level people that actually can make effective decisions.
I have a quick question about that, because I've always wondered about this as I fantasize about making my own film. How are you dressed in that meeting when you go in to meet one of these guys? Because they're all going to be in suits, right?
Yeah, they're generally in suits. It's funny with that too. Like we did actually speak about that, because we're not suit type people.
Right, but you don't want to be disrespectful either.
You don't want to be disrespectful. So we still went in with shirt, had a shirt on, but you still, if you're a bit funky or whatever you want to do,
let your brand
do that, but you're not turning up in a tee. You're not turning up like you're disrespectful. And it is one of those things, because hey, we need every little bit of
coercion
that we can to do it. So you're trying to look as hip and cool and made an effort as you can, but that you haven't made an effort, and it's just you're effortlessly
that sweet spot.
That sort of that sort of person.
Sorry to throw that question in as a curveball.
No, it's just because I've turned up today with a Skull T-shirt. You're thinking I don't make too much of an effort.
No. It's every other time you've turned up.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's just a slob. So that's that certainly is the case. I believe, and then my background is sort of advertising, design, and web. And social sort of stuff. So I've created a lot of the pitch decks and all that sort of stuff, and made a bit of a visual, digital versions and stuff that we could display. And pretty much every room we went into, bar 1 or 2, had the big screens in the room, and we were able to sort of throw the stuff up there. And then as we're talking through the different projects, I'm bringing up the pitch documents, and if you're the other team member, they're chatting through the different things, and I'm sort of like, they're talking about that. I'll flick back and through.
Yeah, line it up
so that they're getting visuals. And it was actually really interesting to see, because they're kind of like, they'll be chatting to the person there, and it's up there, and they're like, yep, okay. And you could hear they're receiving that, and they're looking, they're like, right, and they were really getting that double visuals.
Great.
And
great.
And look, we got look, they say the thing, they say you don't have a bad meeting in LA. You don't know whether you've had a bad meeting. You're like, that meeting was great. Yeah. And then you never hear from them again. So obviously it wasn't good, but you went out feeling awesome. But look, I think we did pretty well with all the meetings. And again, it's hard to know. So now it's this sort of follow-up game, but we got really good feedback about the team, what we'd done, and about the material, in terms of the actual projects. They're really sort of excited about, the concepts, and then loved the visuals. We got really good feedback on all the stuff that I'd done. They were actually saying, "Who's doing these?"
Great.
One of them said, "Who's doing this artwork and that?" And, so, that's me, everyone. That's me. If you need any done.
It's my card, it's my card, it's my card.
Don't worry about making these films, but I can really design them. So that was good. So we basically, we pitched pretty hard in there, and it's, we always ran out of time pitching more, and you had to sort of see, some were a bit more, they'd be a bit more episodic based. So we'd put those in somewhere. They call it non-scripted, which is your sort of documentary reality type shows, and then your scripted, which is your, fictional or, based on true story, narrative type stories. Yep. So we would see what they were after, and then we would we'd sort of pitch accordingly, and we started getting better in terms of jumping in on each other and keeping that sort of energy and that freshness and not get rabbiting on too long. But there was odd times in there as well. Like one time, one of the guys threw one of the other projects at me to pitch, and I remember starting to talk about it, and this one's more of a short form episodic, so it doesn't actually have a beginning, middle, and end in terms of describing that. So I'm in there and I'm sort of pitching, and it was fine, but I just got about a minute in or 2 minutes in, I'm just thinking, what are you fucking talking about?
No.
So
Became
you
super
quickly
aware.
wrap it up, and then you sort of give someone else the eye, and then they'll jump in and save you, because it's just sometimes you have a bit of a brain fart. But I mean, look, and geez, some of these places that we went to, the size of the rooms, one had this, I would say different names of it, the places we went, but this was just off Rodeo Drive, and they had this marble conference room table, and I swear this thing would have had to have been 10 metres long and 2 or 3 metres wide, and I think it was one piece of marble. I don't know. They would have had to build this room around this thing that was just crazy. And it was so long, and I had that funny thought in my head of if you were pitching almost like a short video, a short film, and you'd see these people pitching, and then the two or one person or whatever's that's listening to them, depending how you're going as it cuts back and forward, they either move further away or they're coming closer, depending how you're pitching.
Cold, hot.
But it is certainly I've done a lot of business. I've been in business for years, so I'm quite comfortable in in the room and talking the talk in terms of that, but in terms of a lot of understanding what's needed in these sort of pitches and what's interested in, that was very new to me. So it was, but it was super interesting, and it was really exciting. You've sort of come out on a real high from it, and obviously now,
just the opportunity to have that conversation,
to get in, and one place we went in, these two guys that obviously had a hard day and they were exhausted, and they came in and they were pretty like, oh guys, and it was just like, oh, here we go, this is going to be terrible. And a couple of minutes in, they were leaning forward, I was looking at their body language and they were asking questions, and I thought, that's real interest. Because if it wasn't real interest, they would not have made an effort, these guys, at all. Because they
exacerbation would get worse and worse.
Yeah. So you're watching those sort of things, and I went, well, hopefully this is something that will lead somewhere. But look, now it's this game on the back of that, and it is. You go over, you pitch, it's exciting, you do that, and then you leave and you come back, and it kind of almost feels a little bit flat, because now it's just this period of, well, you follow up, you do the things, and if you don't, and all these wheels turn so slowly. I mean, they're probably, we left that other day, probably 3 other people came and pitched, and then the month before that, every day there was 5 people coming in pitching per day. So there's so much stuff. They've got to read your scripts, which will still go out to an underling in the business.
Who'll read for.
And then that person will say, consider trash, or develop, or whatever, and that's kind of where you'll end up, depending where that is, and all that takes time. And then if it's a consider, then it's got to go on someone else's pile. How big's that pile? And so it's really trying to cut through, and so this, now we're in this game, but like I said, we've these different things are trickling in, slowly about a range of different projects, and now we've just got to keep moving forward and keep doing what we do, and hopefully something will stick. And if it doesn't, we got to
find another path,
find another path with it.
Yeah.
And it's very different, but in terms than just acting. But I like the business nature of it, because I am a bit of a left brain, right brain in terms of the creative and the business. I float fairly comfortably between the two, and I like the idea of having a little bit more control over my career, as a creative. And I remember Sean Penn, and he said it in terms of a man, but I'm sure he didn't mean that because it's equal for both men and women. But he said, acting's no job for a man, because there's no power, and you're at the beck and call of everyone else telling you, when you're working and what you're doing and all that sort of thing. So it's creative, but it's it takes a lot of your power away, because you're on your knees all the time when we're trying to get a job, begging for a job.
I'm sure Sean Penn isn't begging for any jobs anymore.
Not for now, but in terms of those, I mean, I guess, and we spoke about that before we went on air, that everyone's looking at everyone else's career and seeing where they are, and what the grass is always greener. So everyone obviously wants more, but there's all these different stages you go through, and there is that thing that you're always trying for something, and that's at the beck and call of someone else, whether they want to make that, whether they want to do it, whether it's right for you. So, and I've heard you speak about on the podcast before about going out and creating your own work. As a producer, gives you the opportunity. I mean, it comes with all the headaches, and
that's the trade-off. Yeah.
And it was funny that I think it was actually mate Nick, the producer mate that I was telling you about. I think it was Jack Thompson. He was doing a gig with him, and he said, "This is how a career goes. It starts off and they go, 'Who's Jack Thompson?' And then as your career progresses, they go, get me Jack Thompson. And then you this is the casting directors or the producers, and then you get a bit further, and they say, get me someone like Jack Thompson. And because they can't,
can we get Jack Thompson?
Can we get Jack Thompson? No, get me someone like Jack Thompson. And then it's, I can't remember the exact progression of it. He was quite succinct and funny. And then so it goes from that, and then get me something from then, get me Jack Thompson again. And then we get me someone like Jack Thompson, but who's current.
Pressure.
And then finally it ends up, who's Jack Thompson?
Yeah, right.
Look, it's much better than that, the way he
but I
raised
get what
it.
You're saying, the arc of,
and that's, which I think is a great, and there's always ego involved in a creative. I don't care what anyone says. There's very few people that want to purely do it for the art and the art alone. There is a sense of ego as a creative, that you do want to be noticed, and you do want to push these things out, and
top of the call sheet, all that.
It's just and I mean, look, I'm not saying that there's not. I just reckon that 95% there's a bit of ego.
There's a smidge.
I love being on stage in front of people. I hate standing in the room like another schmuck in a music situation. I like being the guy up there that everyone's watching, going, he's cool.
Yeah,
and
you feed off that.
It's fun. It's great. I love going to red carpet premieres and doing those things. It's fun and it's exciting, and
Q&A on the stage.
Totally,
that's
chatting,
awesome.
having a chat here that someone's interested in speaking to me about what I've done. It's. I love it. Yes, I guess that means I've got an ego, but I'm not a
healthy ego,
not a tosser. With
exactly.
it, but it's something that drives me and drives my career as well. So, anyway, so that. Leading to that, we've gone over, we've done that, we're coming back now, and now it's just we're trying to move forward and get this happening, and trying to still look for acting gigs. And
what would you like? How would you sum up the brand of the production company, like the kinds of films that you guys would make?
That's really tough because we're doing half the team is really strong in non-scripted, and they've done a lot, and they've done a lot in the sort of police crime, in the crime space,
like true crime and stuff.
Yeah, US Marshals,
okay.
All that sort of working with police groups and being out there with them. US Marshals was probably one of the really big ones that a couple of the crew were on, and also sports. in the sports space, non-scripted, and then others have just been in very independent film space, in making, your sort of 1 to 5 million US films. And then a couple of the producers have just literally lived their lives with, like Rob Ernst, our line producer. He's working with Steven Soderbergh at the moment on his latest film.
Which is? What can you say?
I'm not sure what the name of the project is, but
he's great, incredible, yeah.
And
this is what his last film was with. I'm sure it's Soderbergh. What was it? Something about a laundry. I forget, but it's Meryl Streep, Gary Oldman.
Yeah. Was it called The Laundry? The Laundromat? And
maybe.
She's it's fantastic.
Yeah,
kooky as film.
Great film.
And he reckons he's amazing too. Rob said, like, Soderbergh, he's just like, often he'll grab the camera himself and he's just a real no fuss. He said it's just, his sets are amazing to be on, and clearly because you see the sort of stuff that he produces. But I mean, like, that's what I'm excited about, the level of the people that we're working with, in terms of what they're doing. And then his little old me sometimes thinking,
So what's your
role or
role, like your piece of the pie in this? How do you fit into the mix?
Really, at the moment, I mean, we all want to sort of basically, create work and get out on set and do and actually do the work. But
there's a lot of actors involved in the.
No, there's not. There's only 2 of us that actor
cool.
producers. The rest, great. So there's less gigs
exactly.
have to share out.
Fighting for the same thing, especially if you all look the same. It's like so.
But everyone's a producer. Even the writer that we've got on board is a fantastic writer. He's such an amazing producer as well, and he's incredible. And so, Eric Balgao.
I want to just make sure that I follow every piece of this because this is really fascinating to me. So when you say that everyone's a producer, so you're all doing a portion of the heavy lifting just to, like, who's designating, okay, we need this? Like, is there someone sort of at the top of the pops who?
I'm probably more myself and one of the other producers, Alison Howard. We're probably a little bit more of the organisers of the group, that we're saying do this, do this, do this.
This is what needs to happen.
I'm trying to drag everyone onto a platform called Trello, which is project management software.
Right,
and,
okay.
Because we've got that stuff at the moment, things going back and forth in email. And I hate email because it gets lost in threads. Someone's where's the pitch document for that? Yeah, I sent it to, because I can't find it. It's just
much better if you all can log into something.
And I did set it up, and I just had a laugh to everyone because I set it up a while ago and then no one was logging in. I'm like, guys, we need to... you're asking me for stuff. It's there. It's on. We need to embrace. I don't care what it is, even if it's even if it's a folder, a paper folder, or whatever it is. We need to embrace one thing, and it can't be a paper folder, internationally. But so I'm trying to do that, and that's my background in terms of running a sort of big web agency and having 50, 100 clients that you've got to manage, and you need structure. But my role is certainly to design all the
marketing,
all the branding on the projects, put together those elements, what's called a pitch deck, the website stuff, and trying to really make these projects exciting, visually stimulating, and funny. My background in web, you just don't put slabs and slabs of text on a website, right? Because people don't care.
No, they won't read it and go.
And there's way, so you really want to cut that back. And so what I've been trying to introduce in terms of the pitch deck is saying, cut back on all this. I know you need the synopsis, and I know it needs to be, but we need to break this shit down just to so that it's got a flow. And like we had, one of them was a TV show, and we were talking about obviously you've got to do the flow through of how an episode goes, the structure of how that will work. And on this one particular one, it was a reality show. So I had this central image and then this starting point, and I worked around with little arrows each one. And it's funny, we got in the room and that was the one that they all really stood out, and they went, "Oh, this is great!" And I know that people can follow a flow chart. That's how your brain works. Rather than just having it line by line down there, was this thing where they stepped around, and the response that particular one got, and I knew it would, because there's all this stuff that you do with web that people have short attention spans. You've got to really cut back on this stuff. It's about little blocks of text. I'm a big one for a few dot points with a checklist with a tick, tick, tick. There's creating a landing page on a website, and you would have seen one signing up to a course or whatever.
Yeah.
They're very psychologically designed.
Yeah, totally.
That's the right word to flow and capture and testimonial, different things that happen, an image, all this sort of stuff, so that you flow through that and you have that understanding. And it's like trying to bring that into this pitch deck world, which I just don't think that they're creatives. A lot of the people are doing this in terms of creatives as story writers, and they've got someone who's putting some pictures together and images, and they don't understand that this isn't storytelling. This is marketing.
Yeah,
it's different.
You're still telling a story, but the structure is different.
Yeah, you've got it, and it's short form. You've got to get it in. So after doing all these meetings and stuff, I've actually got some other ideas about how I want to present, and I would actually like to, if we got in the room again, I would change up, and I wouldn't use the pitch documents at all in the room. I would do different, like not PowerPoint presentations, but kind of different presentations like that, to actually have a better flow and really nut out how you're going to pitch, and then really this is designed on that pitch, and that pitch is the same every time, and you're stepping through so that it's a real visual and sound, all sort of different experience that you can get in that room to excite and emote that what you need from the person that's listening who may fund your project. So that's my sort of role is getting all of that, and I love it, and I love creating looks and feels, and and what's great with this a lot is that you can, because it's not going out to the public, you can kind of get your media from anywhere, because it's never going to see the light of day. So you can find that image and that thing that you want. It's just perfect.
Spot on.
I can use that.
You're not having to go out and create stuff, which is costly and
takes time.
It takes a lot of time.
Although when you do have a project that you can purpose shoot for it, I mean, the difference between, all of your images being that perfect feel for a project, if it is custom shot as a photographer, the difference.
Have a strong brand.
It makes But hey, you can do a lot, and there's a bunch of great sites now, even free. There's one called pexels.com that I use all the time, pexels.com, and it just has the most amazing photography, free, even commercial use, which everyone's giving it away, which I'm sure you'd be rapt about as a photographer. But there is, online sources now. It is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a shame. We're our own worst enemies.
We are giving everything away for free.
Exactly, creative just to maybe something happen.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So that's my role. That's what it is. That's probably taken me 4 minutes to cook 2-minute noodles there, but
I'd say probably 20.
20.
No, but that's good. I hope
it's interesting
it
to
sure
people
is, man,
listening, because it's
as you know, because you've worked with me on my own script, and you've even acted in the little a vignette, I guess you could call it, or a scene. Like as you're writing it, you start to like map out in your brain the next step and the next step and the next step, and the step that I've got to in my head is like, what do I do if I do get the chance to go in the room and give this a big pitch and a big spray? Like, fuck, what's my presentation supposed to be? Like, what do I need? Are they? And then I'm trying to sell them on the guy, like me being the actor in the thing. So do I need to come in kind of looking like the character too a little bit? And they need to believe me as this military guy, but I need to be able to present at the same time.
It's a real tough one. And I feel like, I haven't been in, like I said, I haven't been in the producing game long. I have been selling to clients for years and years, so I've got a good understanding about sales and marketing, and it's funny. I went to a where was it? It was last year, and it was the guys that did Rostered On.
Yep.
It wasn't the actors, but it was one of the guys that helped create it or sell it to
Netflix.
And he was talking about, here in Australia, and he was saying, get your idea, and he said, what, you really want to, work on your idea, and it's going to take you about 3 to 5 years. You got to do this, you got to shoot this, you got to do this, and then and then and then you'll get to the point when you'll be able to go to a meeting here in Australia, and I must admit, I was sitting in the back going, I'm not going to do it that way, and he said, because you're just not going to get in the room, and I'm thinking, I'm in the room over in America now. We're not flushing out an idea for years and years. And in fact, some of these people, depending on who you're going to see, and I think I'll try and give this because I feel that this is really interesting for people that are wanting to pitch. It depends who you're pitching to. Let's say you go into an agency, right? Over in America, you've got WME, Gersh, a couple of, the big ones over there. Now, Gersh, for example, they've got writers on their books, right? And
they're a talent agency.
Talent agency, yeah. They've got writers, they've got actors, they've got producers, directors. They've got a whole bunch of stuff that they cover. Now, you can send as much as any agency can double dip and get more money, they're going to want to do it because that's good business. So if they can get a project, say they package a project, right?
All in-house. Is that what you mean by double dip? Yeah. Their producers, their writers, their actors.
Writers and everything. They get a cut of the writer, they get a cut of the producer and everything,
back to them. Yeah.
Now, you tell me that company, right, if you've got a great treatment for a story, do you reckon they're going to be happy to get their writers on and script that story up?
I would have thought so.
Damn straight they are.
Yeah. It's all there.
So it depends who you're pitching for. And I think a lot of the time, and when I was listening to this guy in Australia, I can't remember his name, and I don't mean to be disrespectful in terms of what he was doing. He had very valid points.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But he was talking about one way of doing it, and I feel that he didn't have all the information. He just had his experience and said, this is the way that you do it.
And it all sounds like a very Australian way of doing it too, which is
slow, very slow, very. I just don't want to do that for the potential of making a film that's not going to get out. And most people don't even show the films they make in Australia because it's just there's no money in it here for cinema release. So in terms of having a project and who you're pitching it to, so some of the agencies were like, just get us treatments, give us a deck, give us a treatment. And especially if it's episodic, we actually want to get our writers involved. We want to do this. You don't need you to spend the next 6 months trying to come up with 3 drafts of this script. Get us a really good treatment. We'll pitch it. We'll package it. We'll do it. We'll sign up. We'll get this artist. We'll send it to these people. We'll get this thing made. Whereas other people, depends if it's a smaller organisation and they're going to be going out pitching and they're basically going to find your finance, then they need the finished product. Anywhere you can attach someone a big name is fantastic. But then if that name is not too big and you've got them firmly attached and you can't get rid of them, and then if they want to take a film that you thought was going to be 5 million and all of a sudden you've got interest at 50 million, they want to be able to piss that guy off because I would have
thought they'd always reserve that right.
Well, they could, but you don't want to. But you don't want to have. And in terms even for you, for looking at your project, if you go in there and say I am integral to this project and I can't be off it, then they, some of them might go, sorry, we're not. Well, okay, fair enough. We'll see you later, and they don't care because they've got.
That's
the
right.
big ones have got,
a million there.
But I mean, but if that doesn't mean that that's the wrong way to go. There's one of the projects that we're not exclusively representing, but we've got a shopping agreement with it. So we're a non-exclusive shopping agreement. Now the director is firmly attached to this film. He's got he's done one other full feature film which has done really well on the film circuit, and he's got a massive name attached to this project, like a Academy Award winning actor attached. Now there's no way anyone else is directing this, but the director that the actor that he's got attached wouldn't do it if he wasn't directing it. So it's kind of that's cool. That's totally cool, and everyone's happy with that because this name that he brings is, and then this name's going to bring a bunch of his friends, which are A-list Hollywood actors as well. So that makes that very doable. However, we've got another project with a very well-known Australian director on that, and he's sort of said, because he's co-written this script, and he said, I would love to direct this, but if this thing goes up I'll love to direct it if it's 5-10 million. If this thing goes up to 20 or 30, he said to us, he said, I'm telling you now, they're not going to want me directing it. And he's got a run of films to his name. He said, they're going to want to attach someone much bigger. He said, but if I get the paycheck,
done.
Boom, I'll move on to the next one. So so it's about that, every project that we do, I want to try and get myself in front of the camera if I can.
Yes.
Absolutely, the bigger role as I possibly can. And I said that to all the group. I said, everyone's got aspirations. You want to direct, you want to be writing bigger scripts, I want to be acting. So any opportunity, if I can fit myself in, if I'm allowed to, and I don't even care if there's someone that's better that would do a much better job than me as an actor.
Just give me a shot.
If we can do it, and it'll still get greenlit, I'm taking it because that's what I want to do. And I'm going to help myself and everyone else in this group more than I'm going to help someone outside this group.
Yeah.
Which is and I'm unashamedly, even if I'm not as right for the role, I don't care. But at the same time, I will step down in a second if it means getting that thing greenlit, and then we can move forward and we can, make this project happen. So I think, getting back on to answering that question, if you've got a project and you want to pitch it, you need to be very nimble, you need to be flexible, and there's a bunch of different ways you can independently fund that through private investment. You can go down the funding road, which you need to, and that's what this guy was talking about. You really need to it's almost like an apprenticeship that you need to do. You need to be getting in with the right people and getting in with those bodies, and they do have favourites. They do fund a lot of the same people and the same things each time, which can be very frustrating if you're on the outside of that. Australia's a very inward-facing industry. Like there's a key group of people that get a lot of the Australian television performances, and the producers that do that. It's because people, it's a smaller market. They're scared that they're going to get a flop if they're not sort of doing it in that way. And I get that because it's business at the end. It's a business trying to make money creatively. So I'm not saying anything against that, but it certainly restricts what
projects can get made.
I've got a mate who's very much a rising star at the moment. He's just got a lead role in a series called Clickbait, which is a Netflix series. And I feel like if that was Australian, there's no way that they would have, said yes to him doing that on such a big scale show. They would have wanted someone that was more well known.
Okay,
do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like America's a bit more. They'll get one or two to sell, and then they're really happy to get more unknowns in the picture once they've got a couple of those key people. So it feels like there's more competition. There's more people there, but it feels a lot more receptive, and it feels like America's scared of missing out, and Australia's scared of taking a chance.
They're terrified of taking a chance, which is crazy too, because the amount of shows getting made, well, I think this is the great thing about the amount of shows getting made is they can't all have the top tier. So it's forcing all of these shows, in order for them to get made, to have actors, they're having to cast a wide net. I mean, the audition that I received recently, I was amazed to get it, but two, I was like, this is like, surely this could have been cast in house. The caliber of this role could have but the fact that they were looking worldwide for this guy, I thought was really, really interesting, and a sign of where it's at.
Certainly a sign of the times with that, and the fact now with self-taping as well, is that they can see so many more people, and they literally need to, just get it in. They all get sent to them, and they click, and they can watch 5-10 seconds and just kind of visually go yay or nay, or the performance, whether they watch it more. So where you were getting in the room, and every time someone comes in the room, it's probably 15 minutes, even if one that was absolutely cooking would be 10 minutes per person, you'd have to say. Now it can be 5 to 10 seconds to see if you want to see more. All the work and effort is done by the actor, so they can see a lot more.
And I think there's a bit of what casting directors always talk about now with production companies and networks and showrunners and what have you, discovering, in our case, the next John Hamm. Or something like that. Like John Hamm had done, he'd been around for a bit, but no one knew who the fuck he was until Mad Men. And so they will be forever known as the writers and what have you that launched this A-lister now.
Yeah.
You know, and all of the kids on Stranger Things and
I mean, they're just doing incredible, especially the one with the
11 or the curly head fella.
The curly head. I mean, he was just in what was I just watching him in The Finch on the plane coming back from LA.
Oh,
and he
right.
plays a Russian kid in that, and I've seen him in so many different things. He's got such a great look about him. You know, I mean, those kids are all. I mean,
they're all incredible. Yeah,
they've made a lot of cash too. You know,
yeah. They're set.
You know, so it is crazy. But and sorry, just to backtrack, just to try and get that concise. If you're pitching a project, be nimble, be prepared to step off the project. Especially, and if it's non-scripted as well, and even with scripted and stuff, another thing that they talk about often is access. If it's a non-scripted show, you want to have access to something that the network can't have access to, or hasn't currently got access,
right.
And then that ties you to that project.
Yeah.
Because of your contact and what you've established, you're getting them into it to see something and get access to something that otherwise they wouldn't have access to.
The subject will only speak to me, so I'm your guy.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously other people can go in there, but it's a very important thing. And also making sure you got all that signed off if it's a story, you know, life rights, different things that's happening. And access to, you know, also means if you've got access to, you know, high profile people, like I said. So there's a couple of these different elements that you want to sort of have, you know, at the ready. And if there is anyone out there that's looking at pitching a show in any way, shape or form, you know, start, you know, obviously have a great log line, have a great synopsis. If you've got your script, fantastic. If it's episodic, have a, you know, the arc of it for the series, and then a smaller breakdown for, you know, if there is a series 2 or 3, or if it's a limited series, you know, then you just need the one arc. Get a great pitch deck, you know, try and be very visual with that pitch deck, and keep that, you know, we put what's called lookbooks in them. So you have, there might be one that we did, it had a town, had the outside landscape, and we also did a lookbook for some of the adventures that they got up to, which it wasn't actually about
backstory stuff.
Yeah. But we had some of the things that you might see grabbed from different films and, you know, sort of cut together in this, so you got a bit of an idea of that, and really have that great material so that it visually excites people when they read it.
I just had one come through the other day, actually, and I'd never seen it come through with an audition before, which was the lookbook. Something else they called DOOD. DOOD, like it was dudes.
Is it like an acronym?
I think so. I'd never seen it before, and it was, so they had the sides, they had the full script, they had lookbook, and then in that list they also had, that was designated something days of. So they had the schedule for when you would need it, and they called it dudes.
Yeah, right. I hate acronyms. Because they're so acronyms are so specific to an industry, and you speak to someone and they're, you know, like a police officer or a nurse or a teacher or whatever it is, and they're dropping these different acronyms, and I go, I got no idea what you're talking about. It's just, you know,
it becomes part of their language, and they don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah,
Totally.
But yeah, so that's the producing side, and then obviously, you know, you're trying to make things work as an actor, and you know, getting some runs on the board and trying to get other things happening, and it's a.
When does Dark Water come out? Black Water, Dark Water, Abyss.
The Green Olives.
An Abyss in there.
Blackwater Abyss.
Blackwater.
So Blackwater Abyss is the second. It's not a
direct sequel, is it?
It's not a sequel. It's kind of more like a franchise.
Yes.
I think it's probably the best way to do that. Their director Andrew Traki, who didn't write this particular one. This was written by one of the producers, Neil Kingston. His wife was the writer.
Oh wow.
Of this, and they initiated the project, and that comes out sometime this year. It's just been to the Berlin film market. Which is just finished, and I think they're finishing up selling it to the different territories around. So this year, 2020, it comes out. And
great! But you've seen it, right?
I've seen bits and pieces, But
so there'll be a premiere and what have you?
Yeah, which will be great. And this is you know, by far probably the biggest role
in a film,
and not the biggest role, but the biggest role in the biggest production that I've done in terms of that. It's a bigger production and it's a bigger role. I've probably done a lot more in terms of film, either doing a big role in something smaller or a small role in something bigger. And this has probably got elements of both for me. Great cast: Luke Mitchell, Jessica McNamee, Amali Golden, and Ben. He's Ben Hoches, I think is how I say his surname. Benjamin Hoches. Great cast. 5 of us. We go. There's the 4 of them that are friends, and I'm a tour guide and take them down cave diving into this cave that I found while searching for some Japanese tourists that went missing. And I was in the search party because I'm the local, and fancy myself as a bit of a cowboy tour guide, hopeless sort of dude. And I find this opening to this cave. I'm like, wow. So I tell my mate, who's the character played by Luke Mitchell, and say, look, we found this cave. We should check this out. It's going to be awesome. So we go cave diving, and when we go down, unbeknownst to us, a massive storm breaks out, and they're cave floods. Cave floods because it's near a river, and unbeknownst to us, there's a croc living in this cave. So as this cave floods, it's you can imagine, the waters are rising, and there's a big old croc there. So we've got to try and save our lives and get out and do it. But it's that thing of, it hits a couple of buttons in terms of if you want to turn the screws into characters. It's confined spaces. It's it's water and it's crocs. It's got a pretty good element of
building
suspense
tension.
And the director Andrew he's the master of creating, tension and he talks about thrillers. I had some really good chats with him about that. He said action kills suspense, and you've got to be really careful with these films. And the way he's always done them, he's got a big lean towards just realism and not overdoing it. And if you put too much action in, you're relieving that tension that you're building. And he did one of his probably most well-known films was called The Reef, which is still, if you actually Google it, it's like one of the top shark films of all time.
Shit.
Even sits, I think it's even with Jaws in the mix, sits in the top 5 or 10 done. And again, he did that on a really good budget.
Who was that in that? That wasn't Blake Lively, not that one.
That was what's his name? Damien Walsh Howling was in that one. I'm just trying to think who else. But again, Aussie flick, an amazing one. But he has this sort of relentless, and I remember when I watched, I hadn't seen his stuff before doing the Blackwater Abyss, and then when I got this, obviously you want to go and watch everything the director's done, and so I was watching Blackwater, and it was one of those films that I'd be lifting my legs, because out off the ground, because I'm just like, oh, get out.
That's the worst.
And I was fuck, it was terrible. It's great, but terrible that suspense that you get.
I find it hard.
And just this relent. So when something happens, you're so wound up tight that the scares are great. But he talks about if you go on sort of action sequences and everything like that, and showing the monster, it just kills it. So there's a real mastery to getting that stuff, and he's got it. He's a fantastic director. So that comes out sometime this year, and I'm excited to do all the
I can't wait to see that
biz
one too.
with that one, and hopefully it's well received, and it'll be great to. Because in terms of things of note, since doing Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, it's been small bits, and it'll be great to get another higher profile project out in the marketplace, and hopefully be able to get into more rooms and
for sure,
try and book more work, and because that's what it's all about,
What's the conversation like between you and your lovely wife about LA, and when something comes down the pipe? As I'm about to become a father, it's certainly a conversation that we have. Like, what do you do? What's the obviously you go, right? We pack up.
Well, and look, at the moment, things change when you have kids, but I'm a big believer of things change and then they don't change, and you do what you do and you don't stop, and your kid will get used to whatever life, gypsy life that they're bought into will just
as long
be
as
normal.
they've got loving, communicative parents.
That's all you need. So we've certainly haven't changed. I mean, we're both. I'm also a full-time muso. My wife's a full-time performer.
Exactly. It's not like one's an accountant and the other's just full-blown creative, and they don't get each other. Yeah.
So obviously we're very poor.
No, but I wanted to say this to you because I was thinking about you, the other guy. On a side note, how incredible it is that you were able to provide and run a household as both as creatives. I mean, that's something you have to stop and feel very fortunate for.
We do, and I remember years ago I had a friend and her husband was an old muso, and she was broke, ass out of the back of his pants, sort of broke, and I just had that thing. I went, I don't want that to be me.
It's a scary thought, man.
It is, so very early on, I just worked my ass off during the day and saved money, and we bought a property up in the country, and we didn't live in it, and we renovated it, and I would literally do gigs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the rest of the week I'd be up there and learning how to renovate, and renovated this, turned it from a 2-bedroom, ended up becoming a 5-bedroom home, and
Jesus.
We ended up cutting the block off and subdividing, getting a bit extra money. So we've kind of done a bunch of stuff to try and use the little money that we've earned, and it has been. It's been we've never earned a lot of money, and try to slowly set ourselves up. So property's been the way that we've slowly managed to be able to do that, to give us a little bit of, and not that it helps at the moment, but it that's hopefully if you don't get a career that takes off to the moon, that you're going to be able to retire and have a roof over your heads. So we have been very fortunate with that, and I also, working for myself and having a whole range of skills, like that's why I do the web and the design, and I can build, and I've done so many, much like yourself, because people say, gee, you do a lot. I say, yeah, because I'm a muso and an actor, and I need to earn money. So that's one element of really being able to multi-skill to try and earn money, which can dilute things a bit. I've had other friends that have just, all they can do is what they do, and they have sometimes more success because there's no plan B. I've got a B, C, D,
but
E.
These aren't plans, though. They're just facilitators.
No, yeah. So in terms of that, that has been great to be able to do that. And then in terms of the LA thing, going to LA, like my wife Julie's super supportive, and and she's kicking me out the door. She said, "You get out there, and you go across. I don't care if we haven't got the money. We'll work it out." And so she's, I've been gone for like 2 months at a time, and she's here, single mum. While I'm gone, we've got a daughter, and
she acts like one. No,
no, but like she's looking after our daughter Lucy, and
the routine,
and it's she goes without a lot, and it's a struggle financially, and then I'm gone for two months, and you might not be earning income with that.
So it comes down to one income,
and it's an actor's income again. It's not an accountant or a lawyer's income, and so you are struggling, but. So, you spend a lot of time, and that's meant we haven't done as many family holidays and different things because that money's getting chewed up doing this. So you kind of have that, you feel a bit guilty because you're doing that, but we're trying to, the loose plan is that we're trying to build up to the point that I can either get what would be the dream is the big dream would be landing a producing gig, like, producing a show that we get up that I'm in. So you're
covering
both sides of that, or, if getting a role in an ongoing series. If it was a film, obviously, that's anywhere from 4 weeks to 6 months. It wouldn't be enough to shift over. So
just go for that.
I would just go for that. And look, like when I was shooting Blackwater, it's only in Queensland, but like I was up there for 2 months, and they came up in the middle for about 2 or 3 weeks, and stayed with me. So we it breaks up the time, and that's sort of how we do it.
How you manage it.
But the ultimate goal, I would love to. I'd love to shift over there for at least a few years. And we've never, as a family, lived anywhere else. We were going to years ago take off and live in France, and it sort of never happened. And
oh, really?
Yeah. We always wanted to sort of do that.
You guys watched Revolutionary Road and went, "Fuck yeah, let's do it."
But that was.
And what happened?
Just life. You get and always chasing. We're always chasing down a dream.
Have you been there before?
Yeah. Stayed in. Do you say tours? Is it tour. I don't know how you say it in French.
How do you spell it?
Tours.
All right.
Going down to tours, mate.
Down in fucking tours.
And it's beautiful. It's where Leonardo, not DiCaprio, Da Vinci. Yeah, that famous guy, Leonardo DiCaprio.
He's
back
playing
in the day.
him in a film in the
Oh,
next
is he?
coming years. Yeah, so says IMDb.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's a Martin Scorsese film as well. I'm not
Incredible.
sure, but isn't that crazy? Of all the actors,
Yeah.
the one with the same name.
The same name
The
gets
only
him.
one with the same name. But who better to do it?
But yeah, so
France is great. Yeah, I lived there for 4 months when I
Yeah.
was 17. I was a nanny. Yeah.
yeah, it's bloody.
It's incredible. Apparently,
You were from Flushings, yeah? Da-na-na-na-na. A nanny named.
exactly, with a terrible voice.
A nanny named Josh.
And so what? Just better to redirect that
Well, yeah. Look, whether better or not, it's and then look, we
But your acting would be limited out there too.
Oh,
It would slow things down.
yeah. And I mean, look, when I was younger, I was sure I was going to be a rock star. I was sure I was going to make it. I didn't think. I knew that I was going to make it massive, and I, probably spent I was a fitter and turner, working in Holden's Engine Company back in the day, and I left that to join a band, and got early release out of my apprenticeship, and went and did a band, and then worked at Dracula's, which is a cabaret show. Met my wife there, and then left there and went back to the band, and I probably spent, so that's say from 20 to 30, really, in an original band, just pushing hard, and geez, it's a tough road.
Was that the band that I saw on that clip that you put out? You were on Bert Newton?
Oh yeah, God,
Yeah, was that?
That was that band, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was so funny because our drummer was so loud. And I remember looking across, and here's Bert Newton while we're playing this. He's doing this. Oh, God, bloody drummer. He'd never drummed. God, it was frustrating. He'd never toned down the level of his drums. And then we came back on the show again a second time as an acoustic duo.
That's the one I saw.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah.
But look, so I spent that time, and I look back now and wish I had have put that energy into, the acting back then. But I mean, you do what you do, and you get where you get because that's the life that you lead.
So
And
how did acting come out then?
I started working at Dracula's, and one of the guys there who was in the show, Brett Swain, who has done a lot of stuff here on the Australian acting scene in television, and he was like, dude, you should go and get a headshot and, print it up and send it around to the different casting directors and,
See what happens.
So I did. I did that and went around, started getting – my first job was on Australia's Most Wanted.
Oh,
as a guy attacking a woman.
Oh, my God, man, that show used to fucking freak me out as a kid, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that was
shit.
I remember telling Mum, I got this, my first gig. Oh, that's amazing. I'm like an attacker, and she goes, oh.
Yeah, and I raped this chick, and then
it was horrible. But I mean, I was excited about getting an acting gig.
Of course.
But it's just a strange one to get as your first
out of the gate.
First out of the, But anyway, so that's, and then I think my second gig was Blue Heelers, a fairly decent role.
And had you had any acting training?
No, nothing. I didn't have any acting training for. I think I even got Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. I hadn't really done any training.
What?
To that.
Son of a bitch.
Was sort of, which was stupid and lazy, and I sort of prided myself on, I'm just, going on instinct. And then when you actually start learning some stuff, you go, what a dickhead. It's lazy and I don't know whether, not probably lazy, like mentally lazy. Well, they've never been a lazy person, but it's you start getting the skills. And, what I found when I was doing all these different shows and we get great, geez, man, you got this great, your own sort of energy. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah, And then when I got Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, and I actually got really nervous because I went, well, I'm a cast member here and I need to know more than I know, and I don't know much.
What did you do?
In terms
like
of
knowing more, or you didn't.
But all in that, so what I found on that show first was that I struggled. There was just certain times when I would get lost, and I have no tools to bring it
collect.
back. And I can watch plenty of episodes and go, oof, you know, I'm not
Right.
with that. And, you know, and now since working and doing a whole bunch of different sort of, and I prefer to, like, I like going in for a workshop type scenarios over a few weeks or something like that and just getting a bunch of knowledge. And then, you know, and it's great having done a lot of stuff now and then just you learn stuff and you can instantly apply it. And I'm coming from like Miss Fisher's was a great technical thing as well in terms of, you know, that was I think we'd have up to 3 cameras. It was a massive set.
Right.
You know, that you got to be, it's fast the way they work and you've got to direct yourself a lot of the time, which is often the case with episodic. You know, you've got directors coming in, they don't know the character as well as you do. So it was a great learning ground with that. Except, yeah, I just think with, and being around great actors and actresses, like, you know, Essie Davies, I mean, she can act. Holy cow. She's incredible. You watch her from one role to the next, man. She's an incredible actress.
This is who was in the True History of Ned Kelly.
True History of Ned Kelly.
Amazing at that. Yeah.
And you know, and you see her from that to Miss Fisher's and you know, and she was in Game of Thrones, you know, like she has had this career, like, I mean, she's very well known now, you know, in the last few years she's really, you know, but she's worked with everyone and done the most amazing stuff, but was just this kind of, she'd always look different. She was in them. I didn't even realize until a while ago now, but she was in like 3 of the Matrix films as well. And, you know, she's worked with everyone and she's just such a chameleon that she sort of just flew below the radar because she's so good at changing her look and stuff and just being on set with them and you just look, and she was in like every scene of Miss Fisher's for years, so much dialogue, crazy amount. And she's, you know, rehashing over one scene as she's going there. Obviously they've done all the work, but you've got so much dialogue. You've got to, you know, she's literally doing one scene and then in the break she's starting to get the next scenes and, you know, working the way she worked. It was incredible watching her, tired, early starts, late finishes, and just, you know, bang, bang, bang. And when you're around that sort of level of professionalism, you're sort of thinking, geez, I could do a lot more than what I'm doing to make myself better.
What was the moment where you went, oh, I actually think, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I prefer to act than sing?
And I won't correct you because, you know, I've done singing I've been a professional singer. So getting paid to sing for 25 years now as a job. So it's good. And I do covers now. So it's
there's a repetition there. And
it's repetition and there's a bunch of songs that I hate. I just, look, they're great written songs, but if I never, ever have to hear them again, you know, it's and then we play a lot at the casino now here in Melbourne, and you know, there's a lot of retro stuff, and you know, it's a lot of the same songs, and you just, you know, I do quite often 2 shows a night. I'll do anywhere from 4 to, I think the most I've done in a week's about 13 shows in a week. I think was the most. It's a lot of gigs, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot. And
you're doing the same shit night after night after night after night, and people are there. You're more of a jukebox than people aren't there to see you. They're there to hear the songs that they want to. Well, not even when you are, even because of the big shows there, but you're there to facilitate a song that someone wants to hear. They're not there to hear you.
Got you.
Music.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes are, which is great. So when I go and do a gig. Yeah, when I do a gig that people are there to see me. What did you say there?
I said I was there to hear you.
Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Slide straight on past that.
Sorry, but when you left earlier, I remember because you weren't interested. But but in terms of that, you know, it's when I do gigs when people are really listening and I'm doing the songs I want, I love it. But then sort of getting involved in acting and I do have that real passion and that. Trying to think the moment I really loved, like getting into it years ago. I loved it, and then I went through sort of a phase when I was kind of didn't feel like then I was going to be able to get more gigs, and it just wasn't happening. And
as an actor,
right? And then. And I know the funny story was with Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries when I had got that audition, and I said to my wife, "I'm not going to do it. I can't be." And I think I've said this to you before.
Yeah.
Like,
your agent said, "Get your ass down there."
I wasn't going to do the audition. She said, "Get your ass down there." And I did one audition, half-assed it. Just wasn't in. You know, I wasn't. Not that I wasn't interested. Just that I'm not going. This is a waste of time. I'm not going to get this gig. It's a big role, ongoing show. And then did one, I just never got a call back and got it. And I guess that was the point when I went, wow, this is a legit job. And I really, like I said, that frightened me that time with certain things, and I realised a lot that I needed to learn a lot more. And then I went back, and it's funny, we'd finish each season. A lot of the other actors, they'd go on to, getting all these other gigs, and I'd go back to sort of the web design business, and and sort of it's a bit depressing, like I'm going back, I'm in an office again, and it was after the last season, and I joined up with another guy doing the business, and he's a great guy, but business didn't work, and we got, we had debt and a bunch of things. This client tried to sue us, and also it was a horrible experience in terms of stress. Still got great relationships out of it, and I've always tried to do that. I got into the web game to try and facilitate getting an income so that I could act, and then 15 years later, when you do it, you realise you're starting to put more time in, and it was this terrible time, and it was like, and there was a point where there was one day, and I got an audition for something, and I said, can't do it, I'm too busy, and then I knocked it back, and then it was the next time I went, you just knock back the thing that you're doing to do the
thing that you really want to
do, because you're trying to earn money with this thing that you don't like to do. The thing that you want to do.
Enough money from the other thing,
and so I went, fuck, and that was a bit of an eye opener. And then I got this role with the director Simon Trevorrow, and it was a VCA graduate project, and it was about a gay guy that was terminally ill, and he was going back to basically right a wrong with his ex-lover and try and make a difference, because he knew that he didn't have long to live. And it's a beautiful little story. And I took this role on, and during this time when I was working this business, I actually got quite sick from stress and went through all this stuff, and thought, I thought I had to end up getting brain scans and stuff, because I had some issues that were really going wrong with the body and stuff, and it turned out totally clear. It's just amazing what stress can do.
Fuck yeah.
But this character was going through obviously all the MRI scans, which that I'd done, and so it was this real, at the time it was different but kind of the same, and I had all these worries of these different things, and I did this short film, and I just went, this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that was and I finished that gig and went back and said, I'm out, dude. What do I owe?
Yeah. See you later.
I'm done. I wasn't doing music or anything at the time like that. And we, it was all amicable, but it was pretty tough. It was tough on him too. And we wrapped that business, because we had offices and staff, and it was, big money going out every week. And funny, and I finished, left, and I think it was the next day, my mate that I used to play with in the band, he said, oh, look, dude, I know this is left to centre, but look, the other guy's just left. I've got 4 gigs a week. I'm just hoping, would you be available? And I went, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And I decided from then, I said, I'm an artist. I'm a creative. That's how I'm going to earn my money from now on. And I'm going to pursue my acting again. And I'm going to try and make this happen. And again, this was only, so when all that sort of happened was 2015, 16, I think, when we made that decision. And then in the last couple of years is when all this different change of directions happened. And I can't believe the amount of changes that have happened and the things that I'm doing now that I would have not have thought that I would have access to that sort of,
or they would have just
overseas and
slipped straight by, and you wouldn't have seen them.
I used to hear people talking about America and catching up with friends over in America, and they're all auditioning and acting and doing these things over there. And I was like, oh wow, that's just beyond my grasp to do. And
when you said that earlier, I was like, what? No way.
Look, but you have I just didn't know how to do it and get trying to get a visa over there and all these sort of different things. And then all of a sudden you're sitting in these rooms, and this last trip, to come back around to that, I'm sitting in these massive rooms, pitching ideas and speaking with directors now and people that I would have been trying to speak to before. And now I'm actually friends with them, and I'm working with them on these different capacities, and quite a lot of the different directors I meet and work with, and they end up finding out about my skill set, on these things. So I end up in sort of that helping them create their next projects and stuff. So it's been a real great come back to, you know, so I went off and I learned all these different skills that have now come back into the film industry and are really useful, this bizarre broad range of skills.
They sure are. They really, really are.
And it feels like that's been the path. You know, I've still got so much more I want to do. I want to get that financial, you know, freedom in the sense of I want to be able to, I am earning money off what I love.
That you hate anymore.
Yeah, but I'd like to be earning that off, you know, in the producing and acting world.
Yeah.
And you know, and know that I've got an income coming in and that's sustaining us and have some experiences and do that. That's, you know, moving into the future. That's hopefully where things will go, you know.
Yeah, I heard, fuck, I cannot remember his name, but comedian or comedic actor said it once, and I'm sure I'd heard it before, but it was hearing him say it that really struck home with me. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that separates the ones that make it is they just don't stop. They really just don't stop, you know. And I know that there's a bit of sweetness to that too, because, you know, maybe you had to hustle for 20 years and you don't make it till you're 60, and all those great roles that made you want to be an actor in the first place have passed you by. But everything becomes relative too. You know, I tackle with that a lot, where I think, oh fuck, I didn't start till I'm 33, and let's be honest, it's going to be my mid-40s unless something miraculous happens before I'm even close to being established. I think maybe that's the wrong way.
They say 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, but I was listening to Lawrence Fishburne and William Esper. I'm listening to a book of his at the moment. Both said it takes 20 years to make an actor, like a great actor. It takes 20 years. I'm like, fuck, I'm in my 50s at that point. But anyways, you know.
But, I mean, geez, I'm nudging closer to 50 every year now. And you know, even though I look, you know, 20, 22.
Way young.
18. I think 18's past me, but definitely like 22,
18 and a half.
But you know, you I don't
have to let go.
I don't feel like, you know, I would have looked at a 50-year-old and said, "Oh, that's over the hill." But when I hit 50, I know, and now, you know, even though I'm in my 30s now.
You're 18.
18. Sorry, I just jumped up a bit.
You just gave yourself a 12-year boost.
I still feel like I'm 20, so I'm still living. So, you know, when you hit the 50 mark, it's still, you know, that's you doing what you're doing, and you know.
Well, that's why I think it's so fucking critical for anyone who's, well, like, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I think you're in the same boat. You're ahead of me, but we're still, is that you make sure to the best of your ability that you are physically and mentally ready to go for anything, so you can play anything, like, so that I don't get to my late 40s and have a fucked up knee, busted elbows, and I can't,
big gut.
Yeah, exactly. I'm playing all these fucking rounded dad roles and what have you, where I can still like pull a Liam Neeson in my 50s.
Totally.
You know, if I look after myself within that.
Absolutely. And
you know,
you need to have the body thing being fit. Like, funny with Blackwater, I'd spent the 6 months before that training.
We had been exercising
and really training. And then by the time I got to, not that you can tell in that film because I got so much stuff on anyway, but it could have easily been.
You were in the best shape you'd been in ages, right? I remember seeing your progress
10
shots.
Years.
With those rings that I gave you.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah. But so it was, and I was fit to the point. And then when I knew I got that, I literally, for like, I think I only had 2 weeks with that one before we start shooting. I just tweaked the diet like full on, and you know, was running every morning to burn extra bits of fat, and then get, you know, gymming and every day. And then in 2 weeks, because I had that base, I just went and it was great, you know. And had I needed to have been, you know, just t-shirt or shirt off, like, it would have, you would
have felt better.
It would have felt heaps better. And, you know, and then of course I injured my shoulder on that actual project.
Probably because you went too hard in the lead up.
No,
nothing in the tank.
No. But it was, and then I've sort of torn the rotator cuff a little bit, and then that's totally, so like I haven't been able to do, you know, can't do any biceps, any push ups, any ring pulls, anything like that.
Fucked.
And the shoulder, and then of course you lose. Of course you can still run, do sit ups and all that, but
you lose that.
It's not as much fun, and then you fall off your diet, and then all of a sudden you go, wow, you know, because I'm not a big guy anyway, but I thinned out up top, and then you get a, and you fill out a bit down the bottom, and all of a sudden you go from this to this, the old pear shape, skinny fat bloke. And not, I mean, not saying that, but in terms of a camera and in terms of, and if I like to do the sort of bad guy roles and stuff. And look, it's not about, that's not about getting the gig, is being fit. But if you are, for me, if I'm going, well, if I am do a bad guy, I want to feel like, I can fuck people up.
I can be intimidating.
And I can, just knowing that sort of vibe. So, that's part of your toolkit is your body, is your instrument. You need to, in this industry, you need to stay on top of it. And one, because it's mentally clear and it's visually,
Yeah, I just think you want to be empowered to be able to take on anything at any point. And when that casting call comes through for rugged, fit, action fella or whatever, military or something like that, you want to be a part of that conversation. Like, he's an older dude and he's fit as fuck. Yeah, let's have a chat to him. We need an old guy who's fit, and they're few and far between.
Yeah.
That's the big one. Yeah.
What's the guy off? What's that horror suspense film where they break into the house? Don't Scream, I think it's called. And he's a blind guy, and it's the dude. Because I'm terrible with names. He's the guy off. I'm not going to be able to remember the film is off. What's the film where they're all the blue people, not the Smurfs? The James Cameron.
Avatar. Oh, the old fella.
He was the old fella.
Yeah, he's jacked.
And he's in this, and he plays a blind guy, this ex-military dude, and they come break into his house.
He's also in Public Enemies. He plays the guy who shoots Dillinger at the end.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, just spoiler alert.
It's public knowledge.
But in this same thing, he just because he's got the shirt on, you can't sort of tell. He's just this sort of older dude, and then as you see, he goes off and he's got the singlet on, man, and he's fully jacked, but he's blind in this thing, and it's totally believable. And if he had not had that physicality, it'd be crap. Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't have got it.
Yeah.
It's like, Harrison Ford is one of those guys who's just looked after himself so well, and you see him in Blade Runner, the most recent one, and he's holding the pistol and his fucking arms are ripped as, and you're like, I believe him.
Totally. And Hugh Jackman, he posted up one recently, just to look back at, saying thank you for
Wolverine.
What was the last one? Logan. And it was the last one, and he's over 50 in that one, surely.
I think he just cracked the back of 50.
So it was the one where I think he's coming out of the water. Holy crap, man!
Oh no, that's Wolverine.
Oh no, sorry, no, it was definitely Logan, but it was the same sort of pose. And I'm just and the shot, whoa,
and
man,
he backed off for that film too.
Wow,
because he's supposed to be dying.
That's right.
Yeah. So
still, man,
he did say
incredible physique.
I remember, in an interview, he was like, "This was one of the things that was really great about this is I didn't have to go as hard and I didn't have to do any cutting. It was just sort of just maintain that bulk, but not be shredded."
Yeah.
But you look at him now; he's been on the stage and dancing and that.
He's different. Yeah,
they shrink a lot. Yeah.
Well, that was the fun. Like even with Blackwater, I remember because I'd be standing next to Luke Mitchell all the time, with different things. And my wife would be, "Oh, look, you look tiny compared to him." I'm just like, fuck you. He's a machine. And then he's super fit, looks after himself. And I think he'd have to be 6'3", I think, and and it's that same thing. He looks after himself because that's the roles he plays. Is that
Was it you who said it to me the other day? I can't remember. I sent someone a link for Coach Summer,
right?
The gymnastics coach.
Yeah.
And was it you who said to me that the guy said there's no secret, there's no diet plan, there's no special training regime. The basis of it is discipline.
Oh, do the work.
Just discipline. That is how you get all of the things that you want.
Yeah, it was exactly that. He was talking about the Olympic athletes and stuff. They don't. It's not motivation. It's not inspiration. they do the work. So they're not always motivated. They're not looking for inspiration to do it. They will every day do the work, which therefore actually what you realize is that actually gives you the motivation, and inspiration is a better word, because inspiration is internal, motivation is an outside factor that's forcing you forward. And it is that thing of just do the work, be disciplined. That's what you do. And like in terms of the fitness side of things, and not that this is a fitness podcast, it's that thing. I remember he also said that people would say to him, how long is it going to take me, to get to, this and this? And he goes, the rest of your life. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a lifestyle.
This is the rest of your life. Don't look at, and it's funny often with people with weight and everything, I want to lose 10 kilos. Well, they do. They lose that 10 kilos. They hit that. They stop. Then they're back with it on again. It's got to be, and look, we all fall off on and off, but it's about making these decisions which are lifestyle
grounded in your cells,
to make wholesale changes that are manageable and ongoing, and that will actually, if you do them, will give you the inspiration to continue to do them, because you'll see the results, both physically and mentally, and everything that spiritually that provides to have a body that's working as it should be.
Totally. I was going to check the time real quick.
I reckon we're probably at about 4 hours now.
Sorry about that. Very quickly, I watched something yesterday. Guys got a podcast, not a podcast, a YouTube channel called Athlean X or something like that. I forget what his name is. But he said, everyone's chasing numbers. They're training by the numbers. I've got to get 200 pounds. I've got to get 210 pounds. I've got to lose 3 pounds. Just what you said, it's the rest of your life. Yeah. Just like acting. Just like anything creative, it's the rest of your life. Thank you, buddy. Man, it was really good to see you, obviously, always. Yeah. And thanks for coming down.
Great to chat. Always great to chat. So, make sure you look out for Blackwater Abyss coming out this year.
Yeah.
I got that one very quickly, Hunter's Moon with Thomas Jane. It comes out this year as well. That's an American film. And what's the other one? So Miss Fisher's is out in the cinemas now. If you blink, you'll miss me.
My mother-in-law was very taken with her.
But please do.
Favourite characters.
Please do support that. Obviously,
so they went and saw it on the weekend.
Oh, they did? Great.
Yeah.
And look, it's a fun romp. If you love the show, you'll love the film. But if they do well in the box office, they're going to make another one, and that's when we're going to the second round, which will be a lot more of all the characters, coming back into that one. So hopefully that does well. There's one other film that I can't even think. Blackwater, Miss Fisher's.
Robert the Bruce.
Thank you. That's comes out now. That's out now. Coming out in America in March. If anyone overseas is watching that, and and if you've got a big production, you need a skinny, slightly unfit dude with long hair and a beard.
Yeah. We're right here.
Well, no, you're fit, man. I said unfit, skinny, no.
Oh yeah, well, I actually I can throw down a plug as well. The last screening of Stringy Bark is on the 22nd of March at the Thornbury Picture House, and the team who composed the music will be playing in the cinema to the film.
Oh, fantastic!
So that's a really good one.
Great. I'm going to be here, so I'm going to come along and see it this time.
Yay! Well, hopefully my mum will be here on Monday. So
g'day, mum.
Hi, mum. She's driving across the Nullarbor on her own. She's 69.
Holy
fucking
cow.
Unreal. I'd love to take her along to that. Actually, she's never really seen much of the old acting stuff. So
great.
And I'll have a little bub to take with me as well.
Ooh, yeah, man. Well, so next
time I see you, I'll have a baby.
That's great. When's the?
So next Friday.
Holy cow.
Is the due date, I think, or next Saturday, something like that, 14th.
Yeah.
But
great times, man.
There all this talk of because we're in our 39th year that they want to induce, but we're going to push back against that pretty hard. Anyways, another conversation.
Yeah, it's all,
Thanks, buddy.
All right, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Cheers.